Hi everybody, Ron Placone here. You're watching another summary from the Indie Bohemians morning show. And it's been a very odd week. And the question I want to pose today, why is the media being excluded from Ferguson? Of course, there was the no-fly zone issued around there, and journalists have been turned away from the situation, from the protest, and from the area where Michael Brown was shot and killed. And this raises obviously a lot of red flags. I mean, there's a certain little rhetorical aspect of me posing this question because, of course, earlier this week we talked about the Michael Brown shooting when it first happened, as it's unfolding. And since then, we've gotten the police's side of the story, and their account of events, I think, is at best suspect. First he was in the car, then he wasn't, and it doesn't quite add up, I would say, and I'm trying to look at both sides to try to determine what went down here, and their side just does not add up. Meanwhile, the accounts from witnesses and the accounts from Michael Brown's friend, those all pretty match, and it looks like that this kid had his hands up and he was shot repeatedly. So there's a lot of alarm here, first and foremost, that those stories do not add up. And now, not only do those stories not add up, but journalists are being completely excluded from the area. They're not allowed to come into the place. There's a no-fly zone, which, of course, the response to this no-fly zone is, well, we're trying to preserve the integrity of the investigation. We're trying to making the investigation as easy as possible. But when you add up all of these actions, it really looks like an organization that might have something that they don't want people to know about. And I think in this case, although there's still, I think this is still unfolding, but it seems like this was a case of gross negligence on this police officer's part who shot and killed Michael Brown. And instead of addressing it and instead of handling it, it's trying to be pushed under the rug. And, it's really easy to say, well, that's what they always do. Well, what do you expect? Blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. As long as law enforcement exists, we will always have abuse of power. That's just the reality. That's humankind. Always have to deal with that. So what are your options? Get rid of law enforcement? I don't like that idea. I mean, some people, that's a great idea. I wish I could have that much faith in my species that says we don't need law enforcement. I don't believe that's the case. I think we need law enforcement. It's just the reality of the world we live in. So what you do when abuse of power happens, as it inevitably will, you handle it by addressing it, by confronting it. I mean, I brought the example of Germany earlier in the week, and in Germany, at one of the concentration camps, I believe at Dachau, but don't quote me on that. It might be one of the other ones, but they make police train at that former concentration camp. A, because there's a lot of space there, and they're trying to make use of the actual space, like just the land. But B, because it's symbolic, and every morning when those officers wake up, they're reminded this is what happens when you abuse your power. This is what happens. That's that type of attitude. I'm not implying that every police officer needs to go to a former concentration camp to train. I'm not implying that at all. I don't think that's necessary. We don't need to fly everybody to Germany. But that attitude, that kind of mentality where abuse of power is real and we're going to confront it, that's something the United States could take a note or two on. I really do feel that way when it comes to law enforcement in this country, because it needs to be confronted, it needs to be addressed, that when it does happen, we're going to look into it, we're going to investigate it, and if somebody is found guilty, they will be held accountable. They won't be covered up and protected if they in fact did do some wrongdoing. And all of the evidence so far points to the fact that this officer is guilty of, at the very least, being a grossly negligent officer who used deadly force in a situation where it was completely and utterly unnecessary. And that's why I posed this question. Why is the media being shut out? Why is the no-fly zone happening? You can say, oh, it's to preserve the integrity of the investigation. No, it seems like these are the actions of people that are trying to cover something. And it is a shame that in a case like this, where an 18-year-old kid lost his life, people are just protecting, law enforcement is just protecting their own self-interest through the use of force. I know it's a cliche, but it's very applicable in this case. This is straight up Orwellian. It is straight up Orwellian. And my cat is outraged. But it's really sad. And then, of course, Anonymous has been releasing information from the police tapes. Anonymous released a statement on Tuesday. People are outraged here because they deserve answers, and they haven't gotten any so far. So it's a pretty heavy way to end the week here. We've had quite the week in the news. Sometimes I just got to pet my cat and hope for a better tomorrow. A few quick house cleaning notes here. Now that live panels are a bigger part of what I do here on this channel, I want to let you guys know I am going to have a significant upgrade to the equipment that I use. A couple of you have playfully told me that it's time for me to use a little bit of a better webcam here. And honestly, before, I mean, my channel's always been a vlogging style channel. That's always been what I do here because I do a ton of radio. So I've just kind of, transferred that over to YouTube here, along with the help of being part of the Young Turks Network. And, that's kind of my thing. That's always how I've done things, and I think that will continue. But, some of you, before we weren't doing a ton of live broadcasts. Now that we do, because I like doing it, I am going to kind of upgrade, get a little bit of a facelift here. So that is coming soon, as soon as my new cam comes in the mail. So for those of you that are thinking, man, Ron, I wish you would kind of join 2014 here. I'm joining. Don't worry. So I'm going to get an upgrade. Also, if anyone's in the Nashville area, to try to lighten this up a little bit here, if any of you guys are Nashville folks, I live in Nashville. I know some of you guys know that. I will be at Zany's this weekend, opening the shows there. So come on out, or send me a message through YouTube, or go to ronplacone.com. Send me an email. Say you watch me on YouTube. You're in Nashville. I can try to get you on my guest list. Maybe. Can't promise that, but I'll try. So yeah, it'd be cool. Be cool to cross paths. And so yeah, just kind of fight the fight here. But we're seeing a lot of disturbing things unfold here in Ferguson, and I guess we'll just, as we were earlier this week, we're still continuing to watch it unfold. So stay safe out there. Try to love one another. I'll be coming back at you with some more summaries next week. And in the meantime, this is Ron Placone signing out. Good weekend.